The earth is a gift. It was given to all of us, not just to some of us, not just to the ones with the right papers or the correct flag. When the Creator fashioned the mountains, the oceans, and the vast open plains, there were no lines drawn in the sand. There were no fences, no walls, and no border guards asking for your documents. This world was designed as a home for every single soul born into it. It is our shared inheritance, a beautiful and abundant place, meant for us to explore, to live in, and honestly, to cherish together. The idea that one person has more right to a piece of this planet than another is, well, a strange and modern invention. It is not the truth of our existence. We must remember this simple, powerful truth. Political leaders and governments do not own the land. They are temporary custodians at best. The ground beneath our feet does not belong to a president, a prime minister, or a king. It belongs to humanity. The air we breathe is not English air or American air. It is simply air. The water that flows in the rivers does not recognize national boundaries. These are the fundamental realities of our world. We have been taught to forget this. We have been conditioned to see the world as a patchwork of competing territories, a map of divisions that we must defend at all costs. But this is a story told by those who benefit from our separation. The concept of belonging has been twisted. Today, we are told that you belong where your passport says you belong. But our true belonging is to the human family. It is a connection that runs deeper than any law or man-made rule. Your right to exist, to move, and to seek a better life is not granted by a politician. It is your birthright. It is written into the very fabric of your being. This is a right that no government can legitimately take away. We are all visitors on this planet, journeying through life. To deny someone the chance to find safety, opportunity, or peace is to deny their fundamental humanity and their place in our shared home. The conversation about borders and migration is often filled with fear. Leaders talk about invasions, threats, and the need for control. They use powerful words to make us afraid of our own brothers and sisters. They want us to believe that a person from another place is a danger, someone to be pushed away and kept out. But what if we chose to see them differently? What if we saw them as fellow travelers on this earth, searching for the same things we are? A safe place to sleep, food for their family, and a chance to build a life. The world has enough for everyone. The scarcity is not in our resources, but in our compassion and our willingness to share. Let's be clear about something. Passports, visas, and national ID cards are very new ideas. For the vast majority of human history, these things simply did not exist. Our ancestors did not need a booklet with their photo in it to travel from one valley to the next. They did not need a stamp from an official to cross a river or a mountain range. They moved according to the seasons, in search of food, or to escape conflict. They were guided by the stars, not by immigration laws. These modern documents are not natural. They are tools created by people in power. They are instruments of control. These systems were invented to divide us. They create an us and a them. Once you have this division, it becomes very easy for those in charge to manage people. They can decide who is allowed in and who must be kept out. They can control the flow of labor, creating pools of desperate people willing to work for low wages, which benefits powerful corporations. They turn human beings into economic units, numbers on a spreadsheet. A person's worth is no longer measured by their character or their spirit, but by their visa status or the economic value they can provide. This is a cold and calculated system that profits from human struggle. Think about how absurd it is. You are born on one side of an imaginary line, and you have a world of opportunities. Your life is filled with privilege and freedom. Someone else is born just a few miles away, on the other side of that same line, and their life is defined by struggle, poverty, and restriction. Is the person on the privileged side inherently better? Are they more deserving of a good life? Of course not. The only difference between them is the piece of paper they were issued at birth. This system of national lotteries is fundamentally unfair. It is a violation of the principle that all human beings are created equal and have an equal right to life. This entire framework of control is built on a foundation of falsehood. It is a grand illusion designed to maintain a certain order, an order where a small group of people at the top hold the power and reap the benefits. They tell us these borders are for our safety and security, but often they create more danger and insecurity. They force people into the hands of smugglers and traffickers. They create desperation that leads to tragic loss of life in deserts and on seas. The real threat is not the person seeking refuge. The real threat is the system that tells us we are enemies, the system that profits from our division and fear. When we listen to political leaders talk about immigration, we hear the language of this control system. Look at figures like Donald Trump in the United States and Keir Starmer in the United Kingdom. On the surface, they may seem different, but on the issue of borders, they often sing a similar tune. Trump's rhetoric is loud and direct. He speaks of using the military to stop migration, of mass deportations, and of an invasion that destroys countries from within. This is the language of fear, designed to paint migrants not as people, but as a hostile force that must be repelled by any means necessary. It is a narrative that dehumanizes and justifies cruelty. In the UK, the language might be softer, but the underlying goal is often the same. Prime Minister Keir Starmer may publicly dismiss Trump's more extreme suggestions, like using the army for border control. However, his government still pursues policies of deportation and stricter controls. They pilot schemes to send people away, like the one-in, one-out deal with France. They make it harder for people to get visas and for workers to bring their families. While the methods may differ, the message is clear. The border must be hardened, and certain people are not welcome here. Both leaders, despite their political differences, ultimately reinforce the idea that the state has the absolute right to decide who belongs. This united front on tackling migration is telling. It shows that this is not about left versus right. It is about power versus people. It is about the powerful agreeing that the movement of human beings must be managed and restricted for the benefit of the state and its economic interests. When Trump boasts that the US is making a lot of money from a trade pact, or Starmer's government tightens visa rules that impact care workers, they are operating from the same playbook. This playbook prioritizes national profit and control over the fundamental human right to move and seek a dignified life. It is a system that views people as problems to be solved, not as fellow humans to be embraced. These policies are rooted in jealousy, hatred, and a desire for profit. When leaders sow fear about migrants, they distract us from the real problems in our societies. They turn public anger away from economic inequality, corporate greed, or failing public services, and direct it towards the newcomer, the outsider. The migrant becomes the scapegoat for everything that is wrong. It is an old trick, but it is a dangerously effective one. It allows the powerful to avoid accountability, while the rest of us are busy fighting amongst ourselves. They get richer and more powerful, while we become more divided and fearful. This is the ultimate injustice of their rhetoric. We must look back to our ancestors to remember a different way of being. For thousands upon thousands of years, humanity was a migratory species. People traveled freely across the great land masses of Africa, Asia, and Europe. They sailed the seas in canoes and boats, discovering new islands and new shores. They followed the herds, they sought warmer climates, they moved towards opportunity. There were no border checkpoints in the ancient world. There were no immigration officials to stamp a document. Movement was a natural part of the human experience. It was how we populated the entire planet. It is in our DNA. The world they lived in was one of fluid communities and shared territories. Of course, there were conflicts over resources, and tribes had their own lands. But the idea of a permanent, rigid line on a map, enforced by a national government with a monopoly on violence, is a product of the last few centuries. Our ancestors would not understand it. They would look at our world of walls, visas, and deportation flights with confusion. They would ask why we have chosen to cage ourselves in, to limit our own freedom and the freedom of our brothers and sisters. They would remind us that the earth is a single, interconnected home. The policies of deportation and visa restrictions are an insult to this heritage. They are an act of historical amnesia. They pretend that our current national borders are timeless and sacred, when in fact they are recent and arbitrary creations, often drawn by colonial powers with no regard for the people who live there. To deport someone, to forcibly remove them from a place where they have tried to build a life, is an act of profound violence. It is a rejection of our shared humanity. It says, "You are not one of us, you do not belong." But who has the right to make such a declaration? On what authority? We must reclaim the wisdom of our ancestors. We must remember that we are all part of one human family. The blood that runs in our veins is the same. We all feel joy, pain, hope, and despair. These are the things that unite us, not the passports that divide us. Let us honor our ancestors not by building higher walls, but by walking in their footsteps of exploration, connection, and courage. Let us see the migrant not as an invader, but as someone following that ancient human impulse to seek a better life. This is not a radical idea. It is the most natural and traditional idea in the world. The time has come to awaken. We must see the systems of borders and passports for what they are. Man-made illusions designed to divide and control us. They are not the truth. The truth is unity. The truth is that every person born on this planet has an equal right to be here. The right to move, to live, and to belong is not a privilege to be granted by a government. It is an inalienable birthright for all. We must stand together and reject the false narratives of fear and division that are fed to us by those in power. We must demand a world where the rights and dignity of every individual are respected. Let us raise our consciousness. Let us look at our fellow human beings, regardless of their place of birth, and see a brother or a sister. Let us challenge the laws and policies that create injustice and suffering. This is not a call for chaos, but a call for a higher order based on justice, compassion, and love. It is a call to dismantle the profitable industries of border security and immigration enforcement, and to invest instead in human potential. When we lift others up, we lift ourselves up. A world where everyone is free and safe is a better world for every single one of us. We are more powerful than we know when we are united. Do not let the rhetoric of leaders like Trump or the policies of governments like Starmer's fool you into thinking that division is our destiny. It is not. Our destiny is to live together in peace and harmony on this beautiful earth. We must have the courage to imagine a world without these artificial barriers, a world where our shared humanity is the only passport we need. Let us build bridges, not walls. Let us open our hearts, not close our borders. Let this be our mission and our legacy. Let us give thanks to the Creator for the world we share. Let us honor this gift by treating it and everyone who lives upon it with the deepest respect and care. Let us work towards a future where every child can grow up without fear, with the freedom to explore the wonders of our shared planetary home. The path forward is one of unity, not separation. It is the path of consciousness and love. Let us walk it together.